Welcome back. You're watching The Big Question. Miguna, the fiery lawyer, is yet to be released. One of his lawyers now is here, Nelson Harvey. Thank you so much for making time for us. This evening, you've just actually come from the airport, yes, where you've pinned the court orders on the walls, hoping the immigration officials will see them or will have been served, because they're saying they haven't been served yet.
Yes.
So what next then?
Well, before we went to the airport, went to the Attorney General's office, and at the Attorney General's office, we found people upon whom we served the order. We also went to the office of Fred Matiang'i, but the office was closed. Nonetheless, we left a copy of the order at the reception. We also left a copy of the order at the offices of Major General Kihalangwa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, it is no longer in the matter of conjecture that there's an order that has been made by the court. The entire government of the Republic of Kenya is aware of the court order. And the reason as to why they don't want to comply with this court order is one that confounds us so much, because this is the seventh order in a series of orders that have been made from the 2nd of February. And there can be no justification whatsoever as to why the government does not want to comply with this court order, allow Miguna re-entry into the country. Mm-hmm. And if at all there is any crime that Miguna has committed, and several courts have insisted that it's the function of courts to try individuals suspected of commission of criminal offences, bring them before a court of law. And in fact, today, Justice Abrili made it emphatically clear. Now that Miguna is in the country, there can be no justification to continue holding him at the airport. Bring him before a court of law, so that if there is any offence he has committed, we'll deal with it as a court of law.
You've heard what what our reporters have been saying. Francis Gashuri is at the JKIA,
yes,
speaking to immigration officials. They're not even treating Miguna as Miguna. They're actually saying he's a male, he's an adult who came in yesterday because they don't have his information. I don't know how you respond to that. Plus, one of the reasons is because yesterday we saw Miguna saying he doesn't have his passport. Do you know where his passport is?
Well,
who took his passport?
We've been going through the video of that capture that was undertaken yesterday at around 11, and we can clearly see one plainclothes policewoman pickpocketing Miguna. It is our suspicion that it is that point in time that Miguna's Canadian passport was seized by the police. Mm-hmm. Because on what basis had they purchased a ticket to convey him to Dubai if they did not have his passport? They have his passport. And this is something that is very serious, because the effect of what happened yesterday is, so to speak, to declare Miguna stateless. First of all, you've confiscated his Kenyan passport, you've perforated it and destroyed it. He has come to Kenya. Now, whilst in the process of clearing with immigration, you force him to apply for a visa. He is not obliged to apply for a visa. You hold him incommunicado for almost 7 hours. And then when everybody is tired, a capture is made, you confiscate his Canadian passport, then you attempt to forcefully board him into a plane. Now, that is the epitome of lawlessness.
You are sure that they have the passport? It's the authorities that have Miguna's passport?
Miguna does not have his passport.
But you're not sure whether it's the authorities or otherwise, or whoever. You don't know who has his passport, do you?
No, we don't know who has
his
yes,
passport.
But they are the last people who had custody of Miguna. So they have to tell us where his passport is.
Right.
Yes.
The other thing, Nelson Harvey, is that now that you haven't been able to, okay, you're saying you've served them.
Yes, we've served.
The government is saying, they have not been served. What next for you? For how long will they hold Miguna? And before you even answer that, have you been able to see Miguna, or any of your lawyers, have they seen Miguna since last night?
The last time we saw Miguna was yesterday at around midnight, because at the time we were leaving the airport. Now, we have been able to talk to Miguna. I've talked to Miguna throughout the day today. On phone. Mm-hmm. I was at the airport. I was denied access to Miguna. But an official from Kenya National Human Rights Commission has been with Miguna since morning. And he's been able to give Miguna food. He's been able to give Miguna a copy of this order. So God forbid, in the unlikely event that these security forces purport to unlawfully and forcefully take Miguna out of the jurisdiction, they know for a fact that Miguna has a court order, and Miguna has given them that court order. Number two, the Canadian High Commission has also had contact with Miguna. They were the first individuals to access Miguna in the morning. They're the ones who called me and notified me as to the whereabouts of Miguna. He hasn't had occasion to sleep. He hasn't had occasion to take a bath. The only meal that is taken is the one that was taken to him by the officer from the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. So this is torture of the highest caliber for anyone. I mean, you wouldn't wish this even to a foreigner. You understand? And I think it's now a matter of great concern that this is the treatment that a Kenyan is being subjected to.
I mean, you're talking about a court order. So still a court order that was triggering his return.
Yes.
Since last week, we saw the legal team of Miguna, you included, and Orengo actually saying they are satisfied with the government's efforts to facilitate his return. And the actually Interior Ministry had confirmed that they will facilitate his return. So what changed?
Well, the satisfaction we expressed was not on the part of the government of Kenya. It was on the part of the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. Remember, in the order that was given by Justice Chacha Mwita, the facilitator of the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, indeed, I wrote to the Ministry of Interior asking them to indicate to us what steps they'd undertaken to facilitate Miguna's return. First, toward the purchase of the air ticket, toward the issuance of a passport, or a temporary entry permit. And there was no response from this ministry. I followed it up with a telephone conversation on Friday in the morning. And after talking to several individuals in that ministry, I ended up talking to the legal officer and finally the external lawyer for the ministry, who assured me that everything will be well. But come Monday, there was a complete turn of events where, in fact, despite assurance that 6 lawyers will be allowed access up to the runway, despite assurance that 2 members of his family will be allowed access, and that 4 officials from the Kenya National Human Rights Commission will be there to welcome Miguna, we were denied access. In fact, we ended up being detained, all of us, from 2:30 up to midnight yesterday.
I mean, at this juncture, it's important to say that we sought government representation in this discussion. We didn't get any response to that front. It is reported that Miguna tore papers today, actually application papers sent by the Immigration Department to regularize his citizenship status. I would have actually asked, I mean, any government representative why they wanted to do that, what they meant with that. But why did Miguna decide to tear those papers? Why did you just dismiss that? Chandra?
Well, look, Miguna is a Kenyan citizen by birth. By the time the Ministry of Interior purported to remove him out of this jurisdiction on the 6th of February, he had a valid Kenyan passport, he had a valid Kenyan ID. And even as we speak right now, he has a valid Kenyan ID. There is no obligation on his part to apply afresh to become a Kenyan citizen, because he has never ceased being a Kenyan citizen. And the form that was submitted to him in the morning was an application for citizenship. What the government of Kenya has been directed by a court order, and they need not even be directed by a court order. It is their obligation as the government to ensure that every citizen has a national ID and a passport. Now, they have Miguna's valid passport, perforated and destroyed. It's now in the custody of the court. All that the government ought to have done was to print another passport and forward it to Miguna wherever he was, so that he can be able to enter the country with that passport.
There's no denying that Miguna has dual citizenship then?
No, there's no denial.
So has he, being his lawyer, has he ever denied at any point before, or recorded at any point before, that he has dual citizenship?
No, he's not. And
he has always maintained that he has dual citizenship?
Yes, he's maintained
in all the records?
In all his records.
So finally, Nelson Harvey, what next now? Because you've heard what the Immigration Department is saying. You've pinned the court orders on the walls. They're still saying they're not going to recognize them. They're actually treating him as just an unidentified male adult who came into the country yesterday. What next? What are you going to do? If this persists, I mean.
This being the 7th order, it is our expectation that they will release Miguna any time from now. Even if they don't release Miguna any time from now, they are obliged to bring Miguna before the court tomorrow because the order granted today is in the nature of a habeas corpus. Please produce the individual. So they have no hindrance in compliance with this court order. Now, I had that statement that came from the spokesman, Ministry of Interior, Mwenda Njoka, that as far as they are concerned, they have an individual who cannot be identified. Let me ask you, Hussein, we have seen numerous cases where migrants have been brought before the court for being in Kenya illegally. On what basis are they brought to court? They're not brought on the basis of any valid documents. So by the same yardstick, if it is the firm conviction of the government of Kenya that Miguna is an illegal immigrant, take him to court before a court of law. Let the court of law determine that he's an illegal immigrant. Let the court of law deal with him. But they know for a fact that that is not the case. And it's for that reason that they're trying the patience of Miguna and hopefully the patience of his lawyers with the expectation that we'll lower our guard and say, fine, what are these forms you want us to sign and sign? But that will not happen. We'll follow the entire due process, and tomorrow they can be sure that they'll have a very serious battle in court.
Very, very interesting, obviously, to see what happens tomorrow. Nelson Harvey, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Keep talking to us. What next? 22422. Text, you can text us on Twitter. Is the hashtag. The big question, I'll take a look at a sample again, just some of your tweets right now. Kenneth Nguyo says, supremacy battle is what has erupted in Miguna saga between the executive and judiciary. Let the passport be stamped. Mike Mudhumba Jr., it is, okay, an injustice anywhere and to anyone is a threat to justice everywhere and to everyone. Court orders must be obeyed. Noor says, every party in the Miguna saga should understand, every party in the Miguna saga should understand that no one is above the law. You cannot violate the laws in land and air at the same time. The land and, okay. Orango Roger says, this Miguna debacle has been magnified by brutality from the police. The way this issue has been handled paints a bad picture to the entire region. And Alan Blaze, first, the media should not take sides. Second, why can Miguna produce his passport for stamping? But keep talking to us. Text us 22422 on Twitter. Use the hashtag. The big question will be back after this break.